Hey, it's Ben, and this is my keyboard. I'm very excited to have this keyboard. I ordered it on December 9th of 2020, and I only received it on around July 11th of 2021. It is a Dactyl Manuform 6x6 keyboard. The Dactyl referring to the curvature of of this and the fact that it has thumb clusters, um, inspired by a number of keyboards in the past. For me, the keyboard that got me really into Dactyls was the Case Disadvantage 2, which I still think is sort of the gold standard, and it's in many ways what I'm comparing this keyboard to. Um, this keyboard was ordered from Keycaps.com. They have a Trello board where they keep their clients up to date on their orders, so I can see here my entire order summary. You can see marble is the color, Manuform is 6x6 is the shape, that's the case. The switches are Lubed 67g Zilents. These are just the most, this is the quietest keyboard I think I've ever used. Yeah, so it has LEDs. I'll show that off in a second, but for the most part, the rest of it's a little bit boring, not much to talk about. So this keyboard is configured, and by configured I mean all of the keys can be reassigned to whatever you'd like to assign them to using a program called VIA. You can see it up here in the top right. I'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll just look at this for a little bit. This is mostly the same as the Kinesis Advantage 2. There are a handful of differences that primarily come down to physical differences on the keyboard. So I'll show that right here. So on the Kinesis Advantage 2, your thumbs primarily rest on this outermost, or I guess you could say innermost, or no, outermost large key, right? So it still has these two keys and then the four smaller keys, although they're in a slightly different shape. So these outermost keys are the most natural. On this keyboard, I find that, at least for my hands, this is a much more natural pose, which I think is good because that means that we're actually utilizing the space when I move my thumb in. However, what that means is that automatically I really need to remap because the Kinesis puts the space key over here. So immediately I needed to put the space key here. The next thing that happened is, well, the thing that was here is the enter key. So on the Kinesis, this is the space and this is the enter. I could have moved the enter just over here, just swapped the space and the enter, but I found that that was really unnatural almost immediately, and I found myself moving to the left always. So while on the Kinesis this is the control key, on this keyboard I made this the enter key. I moved the control key over here. I find that this is pretty natural. The one sort of caveat to that being natural is that I kept the left hand control on the same key. So this is no longer symmetrical because this is the enter key and this is the control key. Sometimes I find myself hitting the enter key a little bit too often, which is not, it's kind of growing pains. Going over to the left side, the Kinesis has this as the backspace as well. I kept it that way. But what's interesting is, because this is the most natural resting position for the thumb on the Kinesis, that makes sense because the backspace is the most relevant key usually on the left thumb cluster. For me, I actually found, due to another reason, that I really need to use layers, which the Kinesis Advantage, I think it has support for layers, but it's not nearly as natural as when you're using a configurator like VIA to configure a custom keyboard that lets you configure however you want. So what I found is that if you actually look at the full key layout, because of the way that these thumb clusters are shaped, there are two fewer keys over here than on the Kinesis Advantage 2. And those four keys, two for each side, are the arrow keys. So even though I'm a Vim programmer, which means that I usually use my HJKL to navigate using my text editor, which is, I think for programmers is usually why they want arrow keys. I still find that I need arrow keys for a lot of things, so I need them. And the way that I do that is by using a second layer. So it starts layer 0 is what was previously shown, and now I'm showing layer 1. And you can see over here on my HJKL keys, we have the arrow keys. And so if we go into the key tester, this basically says, okay, if I press Q, QWERTY, it shows up. Then I can reset it. If I hold this key, right, this modifier key, first of all, the key tester, right, shows nothing. So if I were on a website, this wouldn't, it wouldn't show that I was holding down a key. And then I do HJKL, you can see that the arrow keys light up because that's actually what the operating system thinks that I'm pressing. In reality, of course, I'm pressing HJKL, and when I let go of that, it gets rid of that. This is how layers work. So one other thing that I put in that I'm not really used to is for the WASD, WASD keys, when I hold down the layer button, it moves my mouse instead. And then I can do, this is the left mouse button and then right mouse button. And then I have the function keys up here, nothing too fancy. I'm going to try to keep this video short, so hopefully that was enlightening. I'm going to switch over to TypeRacing. This is not the first type race that I've ever done on this keyboard, but it is pretty close. I've never done a type race on this keyboard before today. So buckle in. Let's see how it goes. Also, you can hear how quiet it is. Oh, worse accuracy than I'd have been hoping. Contributed to the lower speed I've been hoping. Let's do 3 races just to get a nice little sampling. I find that I'm still a little bit slow on this keyboard, especially because of my accuracy. I think if I were going for the fastest keyboard possible, I would probably choose something like Reds. These have a slightly higher actuation force than I am used to, so I find myself missing keys occasionally. It's not a huge deal, and I think when it comes to programming, this keyboard is really, really effective. And it's getting more effective as I get more used to it. But when it comes to type racing like this, I'm still definitely falling a little behind. Still fun. Enjoying practicing it. It's a bad one. Yeah. Okay, well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed.